Education Committee. As soon as everyone takes their seats, we'll proceed. I'd like to introduce my vice chair for this committee. Mike Kleins will be with me this session, and glad to have him as the vice chair. I think he drew the short end of the straw, but anyway, we'll go with it. Do I have any members that have any guests that they'd like to introduce this morning? Seeing none, Landon, take the roll.
Yes, sir. Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Braxher. Representative Emily Calloway.
Present.
Representative Josh Calloway.
Present.
Representative Camuel.
Here.
Representative Doan.
Present.
Representative Fleming.
Present.
Representative Grossberg. Representative Hale.
Here.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Proctor.
Present.
Representative Rayborn. Representative Riley.
Here.
Representative Tipton.
Here.
Representative Truitt. Representative Truitt. Representative Wilner. Vice Chair Kleins.
Here.
Chair Lewis.
Here. At this time, we have two bills to consider. If Representative Massaroni will come to the table. Will you all identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. My name is Candy Massaroni, the State Rep from Nelson County.
My name is Lauren McCubbins.
Go ahead and proceed.
And we have another guest via
Okay.
Zoom.
They want to introduce themselves, or you want to introduce?
I will let them introduce themselves
Okay.
up there.
Good morning, committee. My name is Antonia LeBate. I'm director at Equal First Aid.
Thank you
Good
for being
morning.
here.
Oh, sorry about that. Good morning. My name is Laura Benelli, and I am from LifeVac.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for committee members for allowing us to bring this bill forward. House Bill 44, also named Landon's Law after 8-year-old Landon McCubbins from Nelson County, is a simple piece of legislation, but also could have a very big impact. It simply says that schools will be allowed to have live anti-choking devices in their schools while removing the liability from the schools. Choking is the leading cause of death in the U.S. for children under the age of 18. So it's a very simple piece of legislation, and I'm going to let Ms. Tony speak a little bit about the piece of legislation as well. So,
Okay. Good morning, members of the committee, and thank you for holding this hearing for House Bill 44 in the hopes of it becoming Landon's Law. Our hearts are with the McCubbins family today. I also want to thank Representative Massarini for her champion leadership in support of this life-saving bill. Equal First Aid is a not-for-profit organization raising awareness for the immediate need of airway clearance devices to be made readily available to schools and disability communities. There are no current policies or procedures to rescue an individual who may use a wheelchair or who has a disability. This is according to the American Heart Association, dated November of 2023. I am here today as a representative of many organizations that my constituents have no option to be rescued. Our support spans across 11 states, inclusive of support from spina bifida, Down syndrome, Cure SMA, and Autism Speaks, and that's just to name a few. This bill is a proposal and a step of the right direction to fulfill the obligations of the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA law, and to create an immediate need for positive impact that will generate peace of mind for parents and caregivers. According to the Red Cross Advisory Council's proceeding dated June of 2023, they have updated their recommendations that if protocol is not feasible to rescue somebody from choking, an airway clearance device may be used. Your time in reviewing Landon's Law is greatly appreciated. Please take the time needed, and we are just asking for an added rescue option to be present in case of a choking emergency. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Chair, if you don't mind, this is Landon McCubbins' mother. She would like to read just a short letter.
Go ahead.
My name is Lauren McCubbins. I am here today to tell you about an incredibly special boy. My son's name is Landon Willard McCubbins. Landon was the best big brother, son, grandson, and friend that anyone could want. Landon was a protector of kids. Landon befriended the children that struggled to make friends. There was not going to be a child left out when he was around. Landon never met a stranger. To know Landon was to love him. Landon loved to read with his Nana, and he was starting to love basketball. Landon loved to ride in the truck that he picked out with his pet ball. He was a bright light to many in this world. Landon tragically passed away at Boston Elementary November 21st, 2022, the absolute worst day of my life. Landon choked on a bouncy ball during class. Landon had a nurse and firefighters on scene when he choked, and he still died. Weeks before Landon died, on 10/24/22, he wrote in his journal at school that entry read, "One future technology that will change our lives is a robot that will help paramedics save people's lives." Then on 11/4/22, Landon saved a voice memo on his iPad that I found weeks after that he passed, where he said, "I hope the future is better than the past." This is an 8-year-old child wanting technology that will help save lives, hoping that our future is better. We are not asking that you skip all other emergency protocols. We are asking you to allow LifeVacs in schools to use when there is no other options. A LifeVac is an effective alternative to dying. Those emergency protocols failed my sweet boy on 11/21/22. There was not a LifeVac in school to even attempt to save him. My son may still be alive had there been. We are here today hoping that this never happens to any child again. My sweet Landon deserved better. Our children deserve better. They deserve a chance that my son did not get. I pray every day that no parent or grandparent has to sit helpless and watch their child die on a cold classroom floor, like myself and his papa did. I just want to say thank you for your time and consideration today.
Motion on the bill.
Got a motion and a second. We have some questions. Representative Bojanowski.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm a teacher, and every time my children are holding something or chewing on something, it makes me really stressed out. Could someone explain, because I'm not familiar with what a LifeVac is or an airway clearing device, and kind of my second thought as I was listening is why didn't the paramedics have it?
The LifeVac, it's a simple device. It's not completely FDA approved. It's registered with the FDA. So a lot of emergency services don't have them, but they're starting to get them. The CDC came out, recommended anybody that wants to be in ADA compliance to get them. But it's just a simple device they put over their mouth and just suctions stuff out of their throat if they choke. It is registered with the FDA, though. So.
If I can please have a moment, I will show the committee what a LifeVac is.
Go ahead.
Just out of reach at the moment.
I'm happy to jump in and explain a little bit more, if you'd like, about the device and the function of how it works. Would that be okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so it's a very simple device. It's non-invasive, which means it does not enter the body. There is an adult mask and a pediatric mask, and the technology on the grid, which Tony will show you, prevents any of the air from pushing the object further down. So it's as simple as you place over the nose and mouth, you push down, which creates the suction, and that will remove the object on the upward motion.
Okay, we're coming. Okay. This is a LifeVac unit. It comes with an adult mask and a pediatric mask. You place the mask on. It's a simple, as Laura mentioned, place, push, and pull. You push down and you swiftly pull up. The object will then be dislodged. It is non-invasive, non-powered. And it does, like it comes with a pediatric mask too for a smaller child.
And also, if I may add to this, LifeVac particularly has 9 peer-reviewed medical studies. We already have had 47 saves in schools. We are in thousands of fire and police. There are a lot of body cam footage of saves. You can just take a look and see real live action. As Tony had mentioned, the American Red Cross recently had updated the guidelines to allow anti-choking devices as an option when standard protocol fails or is not feasible. So that's a major update. And LifeVac offers one free unit to every school in America.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Emily Callaway.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for sharing your story with us, for taking time today. I'm so sorry for your loss. I have a question about including the Heimlich maneuver in the legislation.
It is actually in the legislation. We recommend typical protocols prior to using the device. So the Heimlich remover is one of the first protocols. So this is just an alternative if the Heimlich remover does not work. So we did not change any of the legislation. If you read the legislation, I don't have it in front of me, but it does have after the typical protocols are used.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes, thank you, and I'm so sorry for your loss, man. Thank you for bringing this bill, Representative Masseroni. I noticed in the bill it doesn't specifically outline LifeVac. It just says anti-choking device. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So other devices similar to this could be used in schools, right?
Other devices that's registered with FDA, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Landon, please call the roll. I got a motion second.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher. Yes. Representative Emily Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Adriel Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Mike Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Stephen Doan.
Aye.
Representative Ken Fleming.
Aye.
Representative Daniel Grossberg.
Aye, and please have the roll reflect my attendance.
Representative David Hale.
Yes.
Representative Kevin Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Mary Ann Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Felicia Rayborn.
Yes.
Representative Steve Riley.
Yes.
Representative James Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Timmy Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Lisa Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. Thank you all so much for bringing this bill.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, Chair.
At this time, if Representative Baker, Representative Truitt will come to the table, identify your all self for the record, and you can proceed when Representative Truitt gets down there.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Shane Baker. I'm State Representative for the 85th District.
Tim Truitt, today I'm coming to you as hopefully principal of elementary school in Jackson County and state representative.
There's also a committee sub in the members' packets. Can I get a motion for the sub? All in favor? Go ahead and proceed.
Do you want to address the question or you want me to?
Yes, Representative Bojanowski.
Could you just clarify the difference between the original bill and the sub, please?
Yes. So the sub did one little thing. There was a gap. Let's see, it's on page 32, 33, I believe. So with the CSIP and the CDIP, good morning. Ms. Chair, can I let her
Yes, please.
introduce herself as well?
Hi there, I'm Amanda Butler. Oh, sorry. Amanda Butler, Chief Academic Officer of Spencer County Schools.
So there's a concern brought to us, I think, by KDE that there's potential for schools to fall through a crack on that 3-year window on CSIP and CDIP when they're recognized. And this makes sure that those schools that aren't identified but are just above the level that they receive the support that they need as well.
All right, go ahead and proceed.
Was the committee said was adopted, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So over the last 4 years, I was blessed to sit on this committee and heard a lot of interesting things, but there's 3 words that stood out to me in recent years. It was outcomes, the goal of helping students achieve their full potential, and recruitment and retention, an issue that we have with teachers and a challenge and a barrier that we were facing to education. And the legislation that you have before you, I think, goes a long way in beginning the process of addressing all 3 of those things. Many of you probably have a passion for education, or you love children, you have a teacher in your family. Like I do, I've been blessed to be married to a teacher for 25 years. But I truly love kids. But one thing that I've heard, and I'm sure many of you have heard as well, is that teachers love to teach. They love their job, they love their kids, but they don't like all the hoops they have to jump through and everything that goes along with it. They'd like to be able to focus on the mission of education and be able to teach in the classroom. And so that was what we were seeking to address today. And I'll just give you a brief outline of what the bill does. In Section 1, it reduces the frequency of required evaluations from once every 3 years to once every 5 years. Section 2 provides teachers a copy of their employment contract upon request. This came to us from a working group that we had. Last year, we requested a task force to address some of these issues so we could have a conversation, but that didn't come to work out. But we did put together a working group, and throughout the summer, I worked with Chair Tipton and Vice Chair Truitt and some teachers and administrators from around the state, and sat down and talked about the concerns that they had, the challenges that they faced, and what they really would like to see addressed within the classroom. And this is all a result. Everything came from that working group. And that was one of the things that came out of there as well. Section 3, it streamlines professional development provisions in single KRS and reduces the burden of state-mandated PDs. You'll see a lot of stricken language throughout the bill, and most of that is just moving that from one section to compile it in a common section where it's all easily identifiable. Section 7, it updates filing requirements for the Continuous School Improvement Plan. Section 9, schools are no longer able to use Title II funds. This was an unintended consequence of a bill that we passed last year, Senate Bill 265. And we tried to be very careful to be narrow and stay to the mission of reducing some of those administrative burdens in the classroom. But this was something that several people asked for. When we passed House Bill 265 last year, it changed permissive language to a mandate. And because it was a mandate and no longer permissive, it prevented schools and districts from pulling down federal or Title II funds from the federal level for those programs. So this just changes it back to permissive language to allow them to continue to pull down those federal funds. Section 12 requires KDE to review all reporting requirements and eliminate all those not required by state or federal statute. So we're trying to take a bite of the apple, but there's still a lot to munch on there, and we're going to continue to work on this in the years ahead. But that's a basic outline of some of the things that it did. We wanted to get a good start in working on this and addressing the issue, but there's more to come in the future. And I'd like to let Ms. Butler and Representative Truitt share if they'd like.
Thank you all for having me. I was really glad to be a part of this, of coming together. To me, as an educator, as someone who's having to deal with a lot of these things, it just streamlines and makes things make sense. I think a lot of things that we were doing was checking a box, and that's, just adding on to all the other things that educators have to do. Our district has a pretty robust induction program for teachers where we pay mentors to teach. It's outside of school. We support teachers up to their first 3 years, and we had to scramble this year and find other ways to pay mentors and to get supplies because we weren't allowed to use Title II funds to continue doing the work we did to support new teachers. So we had to pull back on resources. We had to pull back on mentors in order to do that because funds in education are already tight for districts. When it came to CSIP and CDIPs, it was something we worked on, some boxes we checked. But to be honest, we got a new superintendent last year, so we did a real overhaul of our CDIP. And this year, we're supposed to do an overhaul again. We can't even see if anything we put in there last year is to work. We're supposed to do another one. So when looking at it again, because we're in the middle of everything, our CDIP didn't change. So why are we looking at things every year? So we propose, look at things as needed for change. So we feel like the things in here are still asking teachers to do the things to keep themselves and students safe, but to make their jobs a little bit easier.
The only thing that I want to add is that I do want to thank Representative Baker for tackling this. It's one of those things that, I've been on the Education Committee for a couple of years also, and we have a lot of great ideas that we've passed over the last couple of years. I mean, some great ideas. But sometimes we don't realize is all these great ideas sometimes will throw extra work on the people that's in the front line with your teachers, your administrators, your district office staff, whatever. And what this bill does is it kind of eliminates some of these things that are unnecessary or maybe something we've been doing for years just because we've been doing them for years. So I really appreciate Representative Baker for including me in on this. And I look for this to give teachers a little bit of excitement. I know assistant principals are going to be a little bit excited knowing that some of these things that we do just check in the box now can only be done if they're needed and not just to be doing them just to be saying we're doing them. So I do want to thank Representative Baker for the bill.
I think we have a few questions. Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions. I don't know if I have some latitude or you want to come back to me, but I'll just ask my first question.
Go ahead.
At your discretion, I'll follow your lead, how you want to do this. Representative Baker, I do appreciate you coming to me earlier. I apologize for not getting back to you and asking some questions. It's the time of year that we're juggling all these different types of bills. So some of the questions I have, I appreciate just giving me some explanation of this. Being new in the committee and getting myself more involved in the education part of our K through 12 kids. In the evaluation, I believe it's on section 1 on page 4, you talk about going from 3 to 5 years in terms of a cumulative evaluations, and that's for to have not attained continued service. Could you give me a little more explanation of going from 3 to 5 years? And I'll give you perspective where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. When I have an employee at my companies and so forth, I have a 10-year employee. I still review them on an annual basis regardless of their tenure and so forth. Could you give me a rationale about that? And I understand and I do appreciate providing efficiency and effectiveness in terms of the teachers because they are a burden. Not only from a paperwork standpoint, but also from a lack of funding into the classroom. So could you give me a little bit of explanation of rationale of that? I do have another question. Go ahead.
I'll be glad to address it. And then after that, I'll be glad to yield to the educators seated beside me because they know what it looks like up close. But from a basic perspective, they're currently evaluated every 3 years. And on a case-by-case basis, they can continue to evaluate a teacher annually or as the need may arise, but it takes a lot of time out of the teacher's day, a lot of time out of the administrator's day. For those who are vice principals largely in the classroom, they may spend hours and hours trying to get through the whole building throughout the year just to evaluate teachers. So I'm going to let these folks share exactly what that looks like.
All right, I'll kind of walk you through what a formative assessment or a summative assessment or evaluation looks like. So what we have a pre-observation. So what that requires is you sitting down with the teacher that you're going to be evaluating, usually around 45 minutes to an hour, talking about what you're going to be doing in this lesson. What am I going to be seeing? Why am I going to be seeing this? And so on. And then you're going to actually do the observation, which is another 45 minutes to an hour, or just depends. But then you're taking time to where you're actually doing this evaluation. So there's 2 hours. And then afterwards we have a post-observation, which is another document that we fill out to where we talk about what we seen, what we identified as weaknesses or strengths. And what's happening is, non-tenured teachers need these. They need these, evaluations. But a lot of times I'm evaluating teachers who have been there longer than me and are much better teachers than me. So what this does, this kind of eliminates that burden of having to do these evaluations. In my district, it's 2 every 3 years. Every district kind of has their own thing, and that's not going to say that this bill will say that a district can't do them every year. It would depend on what the district wanted to do. The district can do any requirements they want. But this just says, as a state level, we're only going to require a tenured teacher to be observed once every 5 years. And because, I've got 27 teachers in my building, and I try to get in my classrooms every single day. So what happens is, when I'm doing evaluations on teachers who are doing their job the right way, it's basically checking the box. Now, on a new teacher, I'm going to be in there every single year. You're exactly right. But so this just kind of gives you the opportunity for a tenured teacher, an experienced teacher, a great teacher, a high flyer, just to kind of pop in their room and say, hey, you're doing a great job. Let's move on. We'll get you, next year. So,
as a follow-up, Representative Tritt, so of those schools that are identified, I think, I guess 4 and 5 that are targeted as based on the rating system. Each school has each district has a rating system, 1 through 5, in terms of meeting the criterias. And you talked about targeted here. So if you have a tenure individual, and they still have some flexibility to go and evaluate it, but they're target as need to improve and so forth. What makes a decision from your point of view in terms of having this more often in terms of evaluating the teacher?
Okay, I think.
I hope I
Well,
give you a little
kind of. I think you're kind of talking about two different things. So you're talking about targeted, which would be involved in those bottom 5 to 10% of schools performing in the state level. We have that CSI and TSI, which is the bottom 10%. All right, and what we're talking about with those, we're not changing the evaluation system with those. What we're talking about in those is the other part of the bill, which was saying that with the CSIP and the CDIP, and that's your comprehensive improvement plan. So all we're doing with the and I know it's complicated because you've got that so let's just call them the bottom 10%. All right, the bottom 10% of schools, we are still requiring them to do a comprehensive school improvement plan. Okay. But everybody else, we're letting them basically say it's not required. Now, evaluations, the certified evaluations is a completely different topic. The evaluations take place in every school. And all we're saying is that if you are a tenured teacher, which means you are a teacher that has already been there, 4 years, experienced, then what we're saying is you only have to be observed once every 5 years as opposed to once every 3 years. So it's removing 3 years and changing it to 5. But as a principal or as a district, you can do as many as you want. We're just saying at the state level, instead of 1 every 3, now it's 1 every 5. Does that clear that up a little bit?
It does, but I see where you're coming from. Part of what I'm trying to wrestle with is that, to me, unless you have a really good argument coming back, it's like, to me, it relates in terms of the teacher with the performance of trying to identify those areas in terms of improving those plans. So those 4 and 5 rated, to me, has some impact on the teachers and trying to help them and assist them, because overall they need to have improvement. So if you have that, from 3 to 5 years, that sort of delays. I mean, I don't know if do you understand what I'm trying to get to? To me, it sort of relates, but I understand where you're coming from. It's two different issues, but then again, to me, it ties to a certain degree.
I'll see if I can help. I think I know what you're coming at. So teachers are not just observed once every 3 years. Teachers are observed multiple times throughout the year. So the summative evaluation, which is the 3-hour type of time commitment, there's observations happening all the time. They're just not that formal. So in a school that is the lowest 10%, you're right. So the reason that they are a low 10% is because something's going on there. So
Correct.
within that CSIP, within that school improvement plan, supporting teachers has to be part of that plan.
Correct.
So, your non-tenured teachers have to be observed at least 3 times their first 4 years, each year for 4 years. So you're seeing them, at least 12 times before they get tenured. In my district, we do observations every year, even if you're tenured, they just might not be summative evaluations. So you're still in classrooms. Principals and buildings know if their school is CSI or TSI, they know the problems. If they don't, that's part of it, identifying what the problems are and then supporting those teachers. And I think what we're trying to do is to separate them, because if you start combining things, that's what's happened in the past, it starts to get really muddied. So in a CSIP where you already have problems identified, you're already doing that. You're already doing the extra observations. You're already targeting those teachers. Does that make sense?
It does, and I appreciate that. And I know it's fluid, and I'm just trying to relate this.
Yeah.
With the business that I run, and you've got fluid. There are some people that have been there for 5, 10, 11 years doing an excellent job, and you have to have leadership within TC school. And I think we're blessed because we have a couple here on in this committee that provide strong leadership. But also there are some folks who've been there for a long time that just like you scratch your head like, okay, what's going on? And so that's what I'm trying to address and see that they continue to be cultivated, to support and get them to a level where it fills the role of the leadership of where the leadership wants to go, which is the bottom line, getting our kids in a better position for outcomes so they can thrive in society. That's where I was coming from.
Now, Representative Fleming, and I think the things that you're talking about are being addressed with these schools that are CSI and TSI. Now, I'm lucky that I've never been identified as one of those schools, but I've talked to principals that have, and that's where KDE steps in. That's where Commissioner Fletcher steps in and says, hey, we're going to help these schools. We're going to come in there. We're going to kind of help you in issues that you need. That's the reason we're identifying them. We're identifying them because they need some help. And that's where KDE comes in and says, hey, let's offer you this. Let's do this. Let's do this. So they are getting those extra services. We're kind of talking about the entire system. And the CSI and TSI, we're not changing anything with them. They're getting everything they've been getting. And so, we're not touching those. We're just saying, hey, let's try to make it a little bit easier on some of these guys that's been doing it good. And I'll speak, going back to that comprehensive school improvement plan. For my school, it's about, no joke, it's about this thick. All right. So it's hours and hours and hours of trying to come up with different things. And if you're a high performing school, if you're a school that's doing well, it may come down to, you're trying to figure out a way that you can get, one little small targeted group to do a little bit better, even though they're 20 and 30 points above the state average. So it's really hard to kind of, it's useless. It really is, And now those targeted schools, those schools that need it, they need to continue to do that, and they need help, and that's where the commissioner and KDE steps in to help those people. So they're still getting it. We're not taking any help away from these low-performing schools.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, for the latitude.
And just one more thing I'll add to that. Also, Representative Fleming, there's teachers, even though they get tenure or whatever, there's improvement plans. And a lot of not a lot, but there's some teachers that need extra help. Even after they're tenured, they'd be put on an improvement plan so that, they are evaluated more than. And a lot of things you're talking about really are a leadership issue more than this probably the language in this bill. But, good principals are good administrators. They're going to be in those classrooms, and they're going to know with or without doing a formal observation. So that's just 2 points there. Representative Bojanowski, I think you had a question.
Yes, thank you. So this is about CSIPs, and so I understand the bill will drop the requirement for CSIPs for schools that aren't in that bottom 10% or whatever. But I want to understand, what's the difference between the CSIP and then the transition plans that are required by the state for those CSI, TSI schools? And is the CSIP then doubling paperwork for those schools? I just don't understand what the difference is between the CSIP and what they have to do when they're in that low performing status.
The CSIP is a federal requirement. Hope that helps. That's all I got.
Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Baker, thank you for this bill. Thank you for the conversations we've had about this. This is, I think, really good stuff, and I'll be very happy to vote for it. I do have a question about the consolidation of the PD requirements, which was really the piece that you and I had focused on in our conversations. I had a teacher, actually not from Jefferson County, but an educator in a different district. We were talking about this bill, and she said, but what about all those district PD requirements? Can this bill go even further and require the districts to have, if you've got, instead of an annual requirement, it's like we're going to put all these together and put them on the same 3-year, 4-year cycle like we're doing with the state and federal requirements. Is that a possibility, or is that something that you guys talked about?
So I can tell you from my perspective, then I'll let them chime in as well. So we did discuss this, and what we figured out is teachers are required to do 24 hours of PD a year. And 4 hours of that are state mandated trainings. And the other 20 are federal or local. And, the federal, we can't touch those. We are addressing the state requirements, and we're trying to consolidate those and put them on a rotational basis where they do one every 4 years after they're tenured. But you're exactly right. What we found throughout this process and the conversations that we have with teachers and administrators, and as I said once again, is from across the state, it seems like oftentimes the local administrative burdens are as much or more than everything else. And if we're truly going to unleash our teachers to perform at their highest level and get the best performance out of their kids, we've got to free them up to teach. And one thing I heard last fall oftentimes is the legislature, the General Assembly, is responsible, constitutionally required, to provide for an efficient system of common schools. Now, in the efficient system of common schools, it's talking about financially, because it's a financial issue it's looking at there. But we can be more efficient in the time in the classroom and everything that we do. But in doing this, if we identify some of those things both on the state level and the local level, and we can start to peel back the onion and eliminate some of those issues, then we can likely free up some resources to allow districts to really pay the people in the building, pay the people that face the teacher each and every day. And so that's one of the things that I saw through this, and I look forward to doing. As I said, we're in the first inning of a long game, but I'll let Amanda and Representative Truitt share as well on that also.
I don't know that I have.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that I want to add is it was a very eye-opening experience to me going through this and finding out what requirements were state mandated, federally mandated, and then going back and looking at, well, it's not state and federal mandated, so that means my district has mandated this. So through this, what I hope is that maybe it educates some of our teachers and some of our administrators, and they start looking at some of this and say, you know what? Who's really requiring us to go through some of these and watch these videos that's being played and all this stuff? Now, we're not taking away that local control. If I'm in a district and we've had some issue with, let's say, some certain topic, then I'm going to keep addressing that topic, and we may do training on that and training on, and I can do that. But I hope that what it does is it allows, our districts, our principals, our superintendents, our teachers to go back and look and say, is this something that we're really required to do? Or is this something I've just done for 25 years and we think it's required, but it's really not? So that's kind of the intent of this legislation.
Thank you.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Baker, I just want to thank you for your passion for this initiative and your leadership on this, and Representative Truitt for your work. I appreciate the opportunity to be involved over the interim, and I just want to thank Amanda, not just Amanda from my home, Spencer County, but Patricia Kennedy from Spencer County, and all the other teachers who took upon their time to come to the table, to share what's on their heart, to share what they experience on a daily basis, and help us come to what I'm going to describe as I think is a good start on this issue. And I believe it's important for us, I hope through this House Bill 48, that it will open some eyes and cause people to think about the things that are going on in our local school districts and across the state. And next year we can come back and identify another list of things that maybe we can do to take some of the burden off our teachers in the classroom. But thank you for your leadership on this.
Representative Camuel.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. And I also want to echo, I appreciate Rep. Fleming with his question and your clarification. That was actually incredibly helpful. But one of my questions is about, and actually, Ms. Butler, I'll address this one to you. When you talked about the teacher induction and the mentor programs and changing the language from it being a requirement to they can choose to, what I heard you say is it's a funding issue. So do we throw out a program that I've worked for public schools for 15 years. My husband's in his 28th year teaching. I have a hard time seeing us just throw out something that I think is incredibly beneficial to new teachers who need that support, who need the guidance to help them start their career that we hope is a lifelong career of 30-ish years or so. So my question is, rather than eliminating this, do we go back to the table next year and say, hey, let's look at funding to make sure that we can provide this to teachers, to new teachers, and to districts?
So throw out is never a term I would ever say. They're extremely useful. Our districts have done it since K-TIP was removed. We basically do our own little K-TIP in Spencer County. So I would never recommend throwing out. That's never come up. All of us on the committee agreed that how important they are. But what it's done by mandating it, we can't use the funds. So the only funds a district has for professional development anyway, besides general funds, is Title II. And so by mandating it, we're not able to use those funds. So yes, if we're able to go back and find a fund just for professional development outside of federal funds, absolutely mandate away. I think it's needed. And I think it should go beyond first year, just as we do in Spencer County. Just your first year is,
it's hard.
It's the wild, wild west, and you're learning every day. And year two, you're finally able to take a breath a little bit, but you're still learning, and to be able to support those teachers. So yes, if there's a way to do that, absolutely. But I think by this year, by mandating it, we really strapped our districts a lot for what they were already providing, and now they're having to pull back some of the good stuff because of the funding. So I agree, yes, it is a funding issue, but pull out, absolutely not. I think we still absolutely need it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that we can look for ways to fund it in the next budget session. My other
Go through the chair.
Oh, sorry, Chair, may I ask another question?
No, go ahead.
Thank you. My other question is about Section 4, the new section, with the posting of the suicide prevention hotline and critical information that I think is really important. What kind of resource should be posted in schools that don't have, or in communities, that don't have safe haven baby boxes? Unless, to the best of my knowledge, they're not in every community.
Correct, and I'll let you know that language, along with some other language you'll see in there that we didn't address in the overview, is actually current statute It was just stricken from other places and consolidated to one place to make it easier to follow. But that's a great question. That's something that has not been addressed. So obviously there's opportunities to address that in future legislation.
That would be great. And I would love to talk about it at some point when you have a chance. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no other questions, I need a motion on the bill. I got a motion and a second. Landon, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, a brief comment on my vote.
Go ahead.
Okay. I only wish that I wouldn't have to do the bloodborne pathogens every year. I know everything I need to know about bloodborne pathogens, so thank you.
I'd also like to say that's a federal requirement.
Representative Braxer. Yes. Representative Emily Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Mike Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Doan.
Aye.
Representative Fleming. Aye. Representative Grossberg.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
I am a strong yes and a co-sponsor on this. My wife is a 19th year teacher. I've been with her 17 and a half years, and not a week has gone by that I haven't heard about the content of this bill. And I hope this is the last time I have to hear about these expletive deleted summative evaluations. So I'm a very strong yes. Thank you.
Representative Hale.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayborn.
I would like to vote pass, and I would like to record my attendance, please.
Yes, Representative. Representative Riley.
Briefly explain my vote.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Representative Baker, I really appreciate the work you've done on this. I know how much work it is, and with Representative Truitt and Representative Tipton, and this is a really good first step. Our overall goal is for students to learn and achieve, and the best way we can do that is by allowing teachers to teach. I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Representative Riley, could you? Apologies, Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Lewis.
Yes. Thank you all so much for this bill. It passes, and appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to say thanks again to everyone who participated. Many of the members on this committee, Chair Lewis and Representative Riley, Representative Jackson, Chairman Tipton, and Vice Chair Truitt, and all the teachers that did devote their time. It was much appreciated, and I think it will be fruitful going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have one announcement here. We're going to do office hours, open office hours every Wednesday after session. So if you'd like to come to room 367 with any questions, it'd be 367 office hours, and Representative Jackson's about to jump out of his chair for something. So go ahead.
Well, I was going to brag on you, but I won't now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to congratulate Chairman Lewis on his new position as chair of K-12. I know he may be a man of few words, but he is a man of high character, and you have some big shoes to fill with. Exactly. Chairman Tipton did a great job. And he's moving on up to higher ed, but I do want to congratulate you and just let you know Representative Riley and I will be here to critique you each week, and we'll follow up with you and let you know what you need to do better, but congratulations again on your new role.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and honored to be here. Office hours will start today. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm sure you all do too. So I will be available and look forward to the conversations. And if anyone doesn't have anything else, meeting's adjourned. Muddle through it.